Good morning, and welcome to the virtual worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown, where we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person, and where we support each other on our spiritual search for truth and meaning. My name is Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and it's wonderful to be back with you this morning. I'm so glad that you've tuned in this week. As I light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite you to light a candle wherever you are. In that way, we can feel together, even while we are apart.
The Promise of the Holy by Reverend Gretchen Haley. We have already missed too much beauty. Our minds so mixed up with multitasking, toggling back and forth, between hope and fear, and worry and wonder. The sun rises with an insistent light, and morning breaks, with the promise of the holy, disguised as babies gurgling or dogs moaning, and the flame that is kindled week after week with promises to love and to serve and to dwell together in peace. All that this day asks is that we risk showing up with our eyes open, that we might bear witness to the whole of life, the stories that we ourselves carry, the things we try to forget, the things we have done wrong, or we have been wronged, to let in this much love, this much grace, to know ourselves as part of this possibility, to remember and to forgive, to heal and to be better. Come, let us worship together.
Please join with me as we affirm our covenant. Love is the spirit of this meeting house. And this is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
May your life be as a song. May your life be as a song. May
Grounding by Jess Reynolds. On my worst days, it is gravity I am most grateful for. The way the earth pulls at me from my core, yearns for me, keeps me pressed tightly against her surface. When my core is hollowed out, when I have no more mass than a leaf dead on the branch, still this is enough for the earth to find me. She reaches for what little I have and says, "Stay." Every meditation I have ever done begins by asking me to ground myself. This is not so much an action as it is inaction. Surrender, a voluntary abandonment of my own edges and tidy packaging. Sit with me now. Press the soles of your feet back into the ground you sprang from. Feel the weight of your body and know that it is glorious. You are born of soil and sun, and all the heaviness of earth is calling to you. The earth is reaching for you. Reach back. Reach back.
Spirit of life, come to me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the winds, rise in the sea, move in the shape of justice, roots holding close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
I've been thinking a lot about grounding this month. What is it that grounds us? Especially when the earth shifts beneath our feet a bit, when our lives are tilted off of their stable axis, what returns us to feeling grounded, feeling centered? Is it our faith, our family, our friends, our hobbies and interests, our spiritual practices? I like to literally put my hands in the dirt to feel grounded. It is both a hobby and a spiritual practice for me. Much of the month of May I have spent in my garden as I wrestle with a new normal for my physical health. There's a lot that is outside of my control. Maybe that's why my garden is so very orderly this year. Nice straight rows, no weeds in sight. I've been studying different ways to stake tomatoes and have decided on the Florida weave technique for this year. I've made elaborate driftwood trellises for my peas and beans to grow up. Everything has structure and support and something to lean on in my garden. When a tomato plant doesn't have the proper support, it falls over under its own weight. When it doesn't have something to grow up, it grows sideways. But you know what? The life force in it keeps it growing, keeps it producing tomatoes, even though it's on the ground and not reaching for the sky. It's not the healthiest way for it to grow, of course. Tomatoes don't like to get their leaves wet. It weakens them and it makes them susceptible to diseases. They like airflow too. They don't like to be too crowded. So it's not ideal for them to be laying on the ground. But there's a cool thing that happens when tomatoes fall over and start growing sideways. The stalks that are close to the ground start to put out roots. Their arms become legs. They want to be rooted in the earth, to stabilize themselves, to ground themselves. Nature finds a way for this to happen, even during non-ideal growing conditions. That's been us this year. A group of people trying to ground ourselves and bear spiritual fruit in less than ideal growing conditions. And so we have put down roots in all the ways that we could figure out to do so. When all else fails, we have gravity, right? It would literally be impossible for us to fall off the earth. We are held. There is comfort in knowing this. But it hasn't been easy. We forget a lot that we are held. We forget a lot that we are not in control or that that's okay. We forget that we need to take some time at the beginning of a new season to set up a support system for ourselves, to lean on the things that have worked for us in the past, or to try a new method. And even if we've been doing really well, this pandemic has lasted so long, hasn't it? And it's been really hard to keep up our enthusiasm for growing. We're just blah. There was a New York Times article that really caught on a few months ago. A lot of people sent it to me. It was called, "There's a Name for the Blah You're Feeling." It's called languishing. Languishing. The article was written by Adam Grant, and he describes languishing as a sense of stagnation and emptiness. It feels as if you're muddling through your days, he says, looking at your life through a foggy windshield. And it might be the dominant emotion of 2021. Languishing is not the same as depression, he explains, but it's not great. It's not good for us. Part of the danger, Adam says, is that when you're languishing, you might not notice the dulling of delight or the dwindling of drive. You don't catch yourself slipping slowly into solitude. I have spent a lot of my time off watching gardening videos on YouTube. I'm obsessed. I'm particularly obsessed with a farmer in England called Charles Dowding, who promotes a no-dig method of gardening. This means that you don't turn over your soil to prepare your garden bed. You just add compost over top of what is there and you plant in that. That way the soil is not disturbed and it can nourish itself more easily because it has less healing to do from all of the digging. And the weeds are not disrupted either. So they don't start to fight for their lives by growing up through the soil. So in the end, it's less work. No digging, less weeding, and the vegetables grow stronger and larger. And you just add compost to the beds every year. You nourish them from the top. And it's not exactly stagnant under there because do you know who does all the work? Earthworms, they do all the work of distributing the nutrients and aerating the soil. They're very busy, and it's enough. It's actually the perfect way to tend the soil, by letting the earthworms do it. Can you believe that I have found another poem about earthworms, by the way? I used 2 earthworm poems a couple months back, and now I have found a third one. Feeding the Worms by Denusha Lamaris. Ever since I found out that earthworms have taste buds all over the delicate pink strings of their bodies, I pause, dropping apple peels into the compost bin. Imagine the dark, writhing ecstasy, the sweetness of apples permeating their pores. I offer beets and parsley, avocado and melon, the feathery tops of carrots. I'd always thought theirs a menial life, eyeless and hidden, almost vulgar, though now, it seems, they bear a pleasure so sublime, so decadent, I want to contribute however I can, forgetting a moment my place on the menu. When I was in England during my sabbatical, I met this woman named Linda. She was one of the leaders of the walking retreat that I was on in Devon. Linda was a really interesting woman. She didn't have a home of her own. She spent the year leading different retreats and house sitting and animal sitting at her friends' houses while they were away. She wasn't tied down by things or obligations or expectations, but she didn't seem ungrounded. She taught yoga and meditation and recited poetry to us. She was a very grounded person. It just didn't come from staying in one place and setting down roots in that sense. It was more of a spiritual grounding. Linda was very connected to nature, and she even made these animal wisdom cards that she sells decks of. Animal wisdom cards, messages from the British countryside. One of the cards gives us the wisdom from the earthworm. The earthworm, Linda says, represents regeneration. I'll read you from her book that explains the card. An earthworm's body is divided into segments, which are all similar except the head and tail, which have slight differences. Should a segment or multiple segments of its body become damaged or even detached altogether, an earthworm has the ability to regenerate those missing or damaged segments. The remaining cells become activated and start to remodel tissue until it is back to its former state. In our own bodies, we automatically regenerate skin, hair, nails, even liver cells if we need to. But there may be other facets of our lives that we have lost and need a conscious effort to renew. Do you need to bring back joy, play, innocence, a sense of wonder, relaxation? Maybe you need to bring back a sense of community, of sharing, of giving and receiving in equal measure. And then Linda offers an earthworm meditation, find a quiet space and place the earthworm card in front of you, Linda says. Bring to mind an element of your life that you feel you have lost and would like to restore to an important place in your life. Let's do the earthworm meditation together. What is something that you feel like you maybe have lost in your life this last year and a half? Something that you would like to restore to an important place in your life. Can you think of something? Think of that thing now. Take yourself back to a period in your life when this element was strong. Linda invites us. Remember how you felt, how you behaved, how you related to others. Remember the happiness that you felt at that time and recreate as best you can that same feeling now. As you continue to focus on that quality that you would like to renew, feel it permeate every cell of your being. Holding that sense of regeneration, slowly bring your focus back to the present, knowing that this quality can re-enter your life right now. Friends, we are coming toward the end of a really long and really hard time in our lives and in our world. And it's okay if you are languishing. And there are some things that we can do to feel better and to get our energy back as individuals and as a community. We can remember that we are being held by each other, by a love beyond our naming, by gravity. We can set up systems of support so that we have something to lean against when things get hard. We can nourish our soil from the top with things that are good for us: our faith, our family, our friends, our hobbies and interests, our spiritual practices. We can put our hands in the dirt, get connected to nature, listen to music, make a cup of our favorite tea, curl up under a blanket. We can find our way back to joy by taking in what is around us and truly tasting each moment. And we can even do an earthworm meditation, making space for what we would like to regenerate in our lives. All that this day asks is that we risk showing up with our eyes open, that we might bear witness to the whole of life, to let in this much love, this much grace, to know ourselves a part of this possibility, to heal and to be better. May it be so. Amen. And blessed be.
'cause the time is close at hand.